Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this very, very special video where we're going to look at the zodiac signs. And I want to introduce you to my beautiful friend Joel Blacker, who is one of the younger astrologers that I know. We desperately need more young astrologers. But Joel came along. We met about 10 years ago at Glastonbury Festival when Joel came and joined the Wheel of Astrologers at Glastonbury. And we've been friends ever since, and we both have Mercury in Pisces. So we sort of get each other at a level, that sort of mercurial level way. So Joel has been working with the elements of the zodiac and has looking at how the three signs in each element are related to each other. And that is what we're going to look at today. That's what I'm going to be asking him today. So welcome, Joel. It's lovely to have you here. So, Joel, we've got four elements in the zodiac. If you'd like to tell us what they are and which order that you want to talk to us about them in, because it's always interesting, the order.
Well, it's interesting to start with elements that are there, there's four. It's broken into two. Let's say there's logical and illogical. The air and earth are logical, and the fire and water are, let's say, less logical. Um, so air and earth, they're very similar in the process of the elemental groups. So starting with air, you know, um, the one of the logical elements, they show a story, and the air and the earth, they, they they're similar with the progression of the story
Right.
compared to water and fire. They're also very similar to each other in their story. And I keep on saying logical when I say earth and air, and it will be obvious once I explain these stories that it's the, I'd say, evolution of the elements. There's a beginning and an end. There's a infancy and a mastery of the elements um, within the three signs allotted, you know, to four groups. Um, so starting with air,
So that would be the element that you would normally start with, would be air.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Well,
because
traditionally, when people start the zodiac, they start with Aries, don't they? Which is fire.
yeah,
Equally, I usually start when I'm talking about the elements, I start with earth. So we all have come from different points of where we would start. So, but for you, just the logical place to start is air.
yes.
Off
um,
you go. Can't wait. Go on.
yeah, to start the air group evolutionary story, you have Gemini, the infantile twins, the humanoid, um, the illustration of these two children. It all information is within these the iconography. So having two twins, what do? They talk. They'll have little journeys together. They'll learn all about mundanity. It's all within the symbol of Gemini. Um, a lot to do with education. Um, and as they are both interacting with each other, and they're a mutable sign, they're, they're, there's two there's two individuals, and that's very important to consider, especially when you contrast with others like Libra. Libra is just a single item. It's not even a being. It's the only Zodiac sign that's not got anything to do with an animal. So it's very, very bizarre. But within that illustration, it's explaining to us the nature, the what intentions the people that originally created the Zodiac, what are they trying to tell us? And Libra being an instrument, it's created within the mind. It, a pair of scales, you'd be incredibly lucky to find anything in nature to do the job. To you might find a log set perfectly on a stone, or you'd get lucky, but it's an obvious instrument created out of the air element, the mind. So let's say how the mental faculties can create technology or design.
Can I
And
stop there for a minute?
yeah,
Because that's led me to an interesting question. Because of course the scales is not just about technology, is it, and design. It's the function that it was designed for, that equality, which of course we met to some extent in the twins because they were equal to each other and facing each other, and we've got that equality in Libra. And also, for me, it's very much about finding the balance point, because like the twins, they can go that way, 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 they can go that way. And for Libra, that is such a challenge for them. There's pros and cons all the time, and to having to find the balance point of that, where I see it as where instead of this dualistic thing, you then get a third point. So it's almost like your eyes, your two eyes, and then you have your third eye on that point. And I think for me, Libra is about coming from that point so that you no longer see two things. You only see the one thing now. And of course, in Gemini, that's what they're constantly talking backwards and forwards to sort it out, aren't they? It's like this constant communication that goes on. Anyway, I just wanted to add that little bit to your story because I thought that was quite relevant.
yeah, very much so.
Thank you. So are you
Yeah,
ready to move on to Aquarius? Because that then for
yeah,
me then has like a natural progression. Go on.
yeah, yeah. And applying what you just said with the judgment of you balancing let's say the mundanity, the learning from Gemini, they've wanting to create something. They've created the scale, and Aquarius is implementing the technology. It's implementing it because it's a man holding a pail of water. That pail of water has been created. And again, you could find something in nature which, could hold water in, but the illustration, it does look like a vessel of clay, it's been created by human hands. And it's this human intervention, the air sign, it's saying we create things from our minds and into manifestation. And Aquarius is putting it into use. It's that fulfillment of um, manifestation and application.
Well, it's fixed, isn't it, as well?
Mm, yeah. Yeah, and the
Whereas
Saturnian.
whereas the Libra being cardinals, but more that initiation,
Mm.
that new idea. Um, that yeah, that so um Aquarius is also, of course, very much about groups, isn't it? About community. So we've got that sense of the Gemini where you're learning how to communicate with people. And then the Libra, where it's like you cannot live in a world of judgment all the time because it just makes life just too difficult. You have to learn to rise above that and to see the whole, that, the one thing. And then, so then when you move into Aquarius, it's like in community, you're much more able to see the overview of a situation and know much better how to use your skills that you were just talking about, material or intellectual or whatever, level. The other thing I'm interested in is that, water is now believed to be the carrier of consciousness. So we have Aquarius, which is obviously a human being, pouring the waters of consciousness, sharing them, which again, I suppose, has that sort of community feel about it, doesn't it? And that sense of equality that everybody is sharing that field of consciousness, which is, of course, it's very much Aquarius rules the quantum field, it rules quantum physics. And that's very much the quantum field, isn't it? That collective consciousness.
If water, let's say, traditionally is associated with the subconscious, and as Aquarius being as the zodiac um, evolutionary process is the ultimate. It's the Superman. It's the most evolved. Um, it's containing the most difficult element to master, water, and doing it through the air element. There's logic, and it's controlled the water. Um, and
So learning how with our minds to change our emotional state. I mean, that's bloody useful.
especially in group
Yes, absolutely.
situations, dealing with other people is the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
applying,
great. I love that. Right. What would be the next element that you would choose to go through?
I'd go with Earth just so you can compare and contrast and
Okay.
seeing how logical in comparison the air and Earth are um, to the water and fire, which are a lot more animalistic, a lot more
Can I just pick up
difficult.
on one thing?
Yeah.
Because you are choosing as the first sign that comes in the zodiac. So Aries, Taurus, Gemini. Yeah. Whereas, of course, each of the ones you're choosing are going to start with a different quality. So we started with mutable with the air in Gemini, and now you're going to start with fixed in the.
Mm.
So that must have some influence as well on this progression of the story. But anyway, I just thought I'd.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's got a lot of complexities to
Yes,
sort out.
yes. That's so true. As we're actually having this conversation, I'm thinking, whoa, we could just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
There's so much you can
So,
go into.
students, wherever it takes you, let it go. There's loads of ways to go. So let's go. Taurus. Tell us about Taurus.
So Taurus, it's a beast of burden. You can work a bull. They're very much known for value throughout time. They help construct. they're very important in agriculture along, when, before our modern technological world, cows were very important, pulling carts and pulling a plow, pulling up.
Just having calves and getting some milk.
Yeah, yeah. Even India, the Hindus, they worship the cow to thank them, to give us civilization. Uh, they've helped us so much. Um, the the bull, it's very much primal. Uh, um, it's the foods that we grow. They help us till the land and bring the primal resources. And to compare with Virgo as a virgin holding a a little plant, holding a spica, the wheat chaff, that is a mutable sign. There's not just the maiden virgin. She is holding a bit of plant. It's the plant kingdom. There's this um, again, like Gemini. There's not just one to consider, or Aquarius, or Sagittarius, or any other signs that have items. And
Well, in a way, the straw that she's holding symbolizes the crone, doesn't it? It's almost like the maiden holding the crone, because she's the maiden that is impregnated during Taurus in Beltane, who then sets the seeds, which are then harvested, and you end up with the stalks, the crone in her hand, isn't it? So
yeah,
the bulls help to fertilize the ground and be ready for that conception, which then carries over into Virgo in her thing. Yeah.
yeah. And what is Virgo known for but nutrition, um, the stomach, the processing. And this is the secondary process of the um, um, primary material, primal resources. So Virgo is the workforce, the labor that not just baking cakes as they're famous for, but the
Well, they're
also
it's all crafts, aren't they? And healing skills.
yes, yes, the craft work and the detail in the craft work. Um, yeah, Virgo is always known for precision.
Linda Day says that Virgos are the shamans. I like that because they are the healers as well, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, medicine. There's so much we get from the plants.
Yeah.
Um, and again, yeah, this illustration of a maiden with a little bit of wheat in her hand illustrates so much of what potential you can create out of the plant kingdom.
So then when how to
And
it?
this moves on to Capricorn. So how we've got the primary resource, we've processed it, and we've come to a very strange mythological mergoat. It's half goat, half fish. It's explaining that it the Capricorn has mastered more than just one element. It's mastered the water as well as the earth. It's as if it's um, implemented the processed primary resources, put them into use, and this allows us to master the environment that we're in. So let's have an example. If we're in the desert, we'd need a straw hat. So Taurus will grow the straw, Virgo will make the hat, and Capricorn is that mastery. It's mastered the element of the desert, hot and dry. Oh, we need to go swimming. All right, let's all right, we've got primary resources, process. Oh, we've made a snorkel and a flippers or whatever. And that's Capricorn. Capricorn represents this um, um, overcoming the difference, different different environments.
You've just introduced a new thought to me, because basically the way that you've just shared that story is like Capricorn has made in its cardinal quality, it has made use of the fixed and the mutable abilities in order to create what it now wants to initiate. And I've never
Yeah.
really thought about that. I'd always seen it more like, the cardinal has I suppose it's just a slightly different way of looking at it. The cardinal has the idea, I want to go snorkeling. And then Taurus says, I know how to make you a mask. Or I know how to find the materials for the mask. Or Virgo says, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'd always seen it in a different way, but I like that sense of that the cardinal energy then calls upon the others. Come on, come and help me make this. I think that's quite interesting.
And it's also on a biological level, and I think that explains the mergoat more as a form of biological alchemy. How us mammals, we came from the water and we evolved to be on the land. And this is true mastery of our evolution as earthlings. And I believe that is the illustration of Capricorn, what it's wanting to tell us. There's more than just one
That
level.
yeah, that is just so interesting, because of course Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, which is about mastery. Um, so I want to throw this into the mix because it's the only one I know, and it's made Capricorn for me the most the most spiritually practical sign, the most practical of the spiritual signs, if you like. And so, I studied with the Hubers. So Louisa Huber wrote this list of the 12 seed thoughts for all the signs of the zodiac. Whether they were her own or she got them somewhere else, I don't know. Anyway, I can only ever remember one. It's the only one I ever remember, and it's Capricorn, which is, I see my father's lighted tower, but I turn my back and face the world. So it's like Capricorn, because it was Saturn, it was the outermost planet in the old world, sees God beyond, because Saturn represented death, sees God beyond, but knows that it's not their time to go now, but they have to channel that spiritual energy back through and into the material realm. So it's that manifestation thing that you were talking about. And so there's something then, isn't there, about this, this very grounded, practical, earthy thing that you have in Taurus. And then the more skilled thing that you do in Virgo, and then the actual channeling of what it is your purpose is for, what you're a master here for in this lifetime through Capricorn. Because you got the skills, because you get those in Virgo, and now it's just applying them to precisely the co-creative project that you're here for. Interesting. Okay, let's go. What's the next element?
Okay, I'll go along with fire. And again, it's going away from the logical elements and going more into the illogical. And these fire and water are a lot more difficult to manage, and to apply the air and the earth helps a lot. So with fire, it's very animalistic, and a ram, a ram, it's a leader, leads a herd of sheep, flock, whatever. And it's hard to put to work. It's not like a bull. They're similar. Bulls and rams, yeah, the leaders in their own field. um, but the ram cannot be put to work. It's a free spirit. It's definitely it's definitely got a drive for competitivism. You know, it wants to be alpha, like the bull, but the bull is workable. You can have a relationship with a bull, and that's the Venusian nature. But with Aries, Mars, fire, it's very self um, assertive. It's harder to work with than the bull. So having that as a comparison, we can see more of the nature we're dealing with. So yeah, it's a herbivore. It definitely has the testosterone. It definitely has the attacking. Um, it defends. It's yeah, very much alpha material. And then compared to the lion, yeah, the lion, it's similar. It's alpha. It's a leader. It's about dominance. It's about, you know, being top of the top of their competition. But the lion, it has huge advantage being a carnivore. It's got this cunning. It has this creativity, genius compared to a ram. But again, they're hard to put to work. They You could have them in a circus, you know, but you'd be whipping them, have a chair. They're hard to work with, but they make great entertainment. The celebrities, you know, people go to Serengeti to see them. It's like a VIP, you know.
And of course,
Um,
you shot one in the old days.
yeah. So in comparison, yeah, they're similar, but you can tell there's this upgrade. There's this. It's the carnivore, and then you have Sagittarius, which is the true apex predator. It's a centaur. As much as that's an imaginative, mythological creature, the Sagittarius, it's beyond animal. It's the sage as well as the beast. Um, and what a
It's
powerful
like the
beast!
brain of the human and the sure-footed runningness of the horse.
Yeah, and it's like there's no escaping from the animalistic nature of fire. He's not all human like the air signs or Virgo. Um, Sagittarius has created the bow and arrow. He can kill the lion and the ram from a far, far distance. It is truly mastered that alpha, competitive dominance. He's dominated the animals by working with the animal. If we're considering a horseman, uh, um, but still he can't be disconnected from the horse, and that mutability of Sagittarius, as much as there is this otherworldly, sagely wisdom, which has the judgment to shoot a arrow from distance, riding 40 miles an hour on a horse to hit a target. It's impressive. I
It's
don't think a lion can do that.
No, it's so interesting because I'm just thinking now of all three elements that we've done, and they've all been about learning a skill and how to implement it.
Mm,
Um, so far. And yet, each one has started with a different quality because this time it started with Cardinal,
mm,
Aries, that drive to be the top. I
mm-hmm,
will be the top.
mm-hmm.
I will be the top. What do I have to do to be the top? I got to start eating meat. Hello, when you eat meat. And then I got to morph into a strange human animal shape and create a weapon.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. Okay.
But within this sequence of the evolution in fire, it, it's it's resulted in wisdom. There's application of the human divine side of ourselves, the spirit of fire. There is something divine within us that will give us the um, it's like an intuition. It's like a that connection to to and to have it associated with this idea of the judgment of shooting an arrow into the air element and hitting a physical target. There's something about how um, we come from the animals. We, and Sagittarius is very much a illustration of that.
What's interesting is that now, with all three elements so far, you've talked about the last one in has been always involved another element. So Aquarius brings in water. And
Mm,
Capricorn, you talked about the fact it was a sea goat, so it
mm,
brings also in water. And now we've got the fire bringing in the air.
mm,
So on with the last one then.
mm. And this is a very interesting one, applying that logic, which we will come to conclude with. So, with water, and bearing in mind the most difficult element to master, and this is through having the oldest primordial creatures as the water sign. As earthlings, we all evolve from like a progenitor, like a grandmother, amoeba, or some slime that we we've evolved out. The crab, well, the crustaceans, the arachnids, the fish, they they evolved 500 million years ago. These are truly, truly our ancient ancestors. And applying this logic of us being Earthlings, we all are related. We're all, distant cousins of each other. We all share the family karma still of the fish and all of the family. It's within our DNA. Having water as the primordial creatures, it's telling us there's a subconscious connection. There's a lot of difficulty within water anyway, because it's the oldest thing to overcome. And as we all came from the water, it's a it's clearly the origin. We all start from somewhere.
Yeah.
And again, Aquarius finally masters the water with the element of air. But well, to see the process through the group of three of the water element, Cancer, a crab, it's got a hard shell, it's got pincers. It a social creature compared to the scorpion. They live in casts of thousands of crabs. Um, they they show protection. They show defense and attack. Let's say they have a hard shell. They have pincers. Applying this to water, the extremity of emotions do make us into an attacking defensive position. If they're too raw, if they're too hard, powerful, we just need to protect ourselves. Yeah, it's a social animal compared to the scorpion. The scorpion, it lives by itself. It's territorial. It's more carnivorous than a crab. Crabs would eat. They're omnivore, but scorpions are carnivore. They're anti-social, let's say, and it's the difference between a lunar sign and a Martian sign. I think. It's very interesting with scorpions because they can't go into the element of water more than 24 hours. But a crab can't go out of water for more than 24 hours. And it's for a water sign, you can imagine it makes sense. The crab can't leave the water for too long, but it can. It can go in and out of the water. So can a scorpion, but a scorpion can't stay in the water. It's that hot, dry Mars within the water element, which is quite confusing, but it shows this dynamic nature of the scorpion. And managing the water element, like we were describing with the crab, it's emotions can get so raw, they can get so intense. There's this attack defensiveness. It's overbearing with Scorpio. They've ended up having a tail with poison, and this it's intensified the attack and defense. They're antisocial. They got out of the group. It was too difficult. There was too many people. I have to live by myself. I'm too emotional. I'll just attack everyone that comes near me. I can't handle life. And then you get to the fish. What? They've lost their legs. They can't go out of the element of water. They're immersed. They're social. There's two of them together. They're let's say sharing the element of water. There's a very martyr Pisces effect of I give up. I surrender to all of the element. You know, I am in the ocean. There's no escape. And I'll just I'll just relax. With compared to crabs and scorpions, I mean, yeah, crabs are pretty fun. Scorpions, yeah, people are scared of scorpions. Yeah. Well, yeah, you could be kind of like upset if a crab nipped your toe at the beach, but the with fish, they're wherever we see fish, you know, be it a little pond in the garden or a fish tank in the local Chinese restaurant, we're we're relaxed by them. They're very calming things. Um, and if that is the mastery of water, it doesn't matter if you're going this way or that way, within the extremity of emotions, as long as you're calm about it, as long as you're accepting or um, you're not in that shell, you're not attacking. It's as if they've just gotten used to the extremism of emotions, and they're all right about it. They're just floating about, um, being fish. If you get my my
Yeah.
description
So
there.
you started off by saying that you had these two logical signs, which were um, air and earth. Um, and I'm curious that, you know, the air started with mutable, the earth started with fixed. And then we went to the two illogical elements, um, fire and water, and they've both started with cardinal signs. So I'm just that curious for that
Mhm.
sort of comparison,
Yeah.
if it particularly relevant. Um, and then so you said that you can see how these two have a similarity in process, which was very much about skill based, wasn't it? It was
Mhm.
about becoming more skilled. And these two, well, fire was very much about that alpha dominance. Um, what would you say then? Because you said that these two were related and these two are related.
Mhm.
So, what would be the dominance that's coming up through the water that you said that you felt they were more related?
Through how the crab, it's it's like a scorpion without a tail, but then if that process, very much like the ram and the lion, um, it's got an upgrade. It's yeah, yeah. It's just a lot more aggressive, a lot more um, has higher potential of making damage.
Um, One of the things that I keep thinking about is that Cancer is more freeze or fawn or flight than Scorpio, which is more fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this sort of adrenaline response. A crab is more likely to withdraw, and a scorpion is more likely to attack. I don't know, but in my sort of consciousness, that's what I see. But equally, the Scorpio's role, psychological role, is to overcome that reactive response, isn't it? And to understand that it's super sensory. That's what they both are. They all three are super sensory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they can sense what's going on in the environment. They can all sense that. And so Scorpios is about learning to understand how to manage that super sensory response. Do you know what I mean? It's like um, how to become empowered by it rather than have power over.
Mm.
I don't know, for me, I always feel that. But that's interesting. They've all got this super sensory thing. So for crabs, it's very much about visual, isn't it? It's shadows. Yeah. And for scorpions, I would imagine it's more earth vibration.
There's something very fascinating about the crab and scorpion sight. So the crab has light sensors all over its body. It's got like eight, and it sees 360. It's very much like you were saying, how the water signs can just pick up on the environment around them. Scorpions, they have a UV on their shell, which bizarrely um, it, it it allows them to see more light. It's like their whole body is an eye again, um, like the crab. So and the fish, they have eyes at the side of their head, which is non-blinking. They can't blink, so they're constant 360 as well. Apart from directly in front and direct behind them.
So all three are dependent on light in some form.
Ah, yeah, yeah, that's interesting. There was another way of considering the process of Cancer to Scorpio, where this poison, the element of poison, which is a water, or a liquid anyway. And if we're considering the emotive evolution, so the Cancer crab, it's very intense, raw emotion, and then
Well,
in
and it also
Scorpio,
has a poisonous bit inside it that you're not supposed to eat. If you're eating crab, you're meant to take that bit out.
yeah, yeah, but it's how the scorpion has the will or the choice to, you know, give give an injection. Um, and I'm thinking how emotions, if kept within us in a bad way, it makes us toxic. It is a poison if we're not careful processing it.
If you
So
don't eat your fish, if you don't eat your fish as soon as you've caught it, it's going to make you pretty sick too.
yeah, so
Is there
how
anything else that
manage the darker side of the water element. And again, it's the most difficult element to master. And yeah, the fish just let it go, just relax.
so I come back to that question again, if we can pull something out a bit more, where you see these two related to each other in the way that these are about learning skills and these are,
Mm,
this one was about that sovereignty, if you like,
yeah,
dominance. And this one is more about the mastery of the environment in some way.
And it's interesting to think that the fish are like the centaur. If if we're ending on a mutable element, immutable signs, how in fire it does seem like it is ultra dominance. It ends in some divine judgment with the sage, as much as he's still managing the fiery, beastly nature. But in comparison to how uh, the water is not about domination, it's about letting go and feeling um, content. If it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, there's this observation where when people meditate, it's in silence. They just watch their thoughts, feel the emotions come and go, and not to associate. If that's a way of releasing and relaxing the tensions, how are you going to release tension? You got to relax. Go look at a fish tank.
So would we then say that the fire is more yang energy and then the water is more yin energy? So with the
Yeah,
fire signs, it's more dong, alpha, alpha, alpha. And with
yeah.
the water signs, it's more receptive, receptive, receptive. And
As
B,
the mastery,
yes.
yeah. The process, it is very warlike, very dominant in water, but then to master water, you can't dominate. It's I just in comparison, it's it,
Well,
it's
it's
definitely
almost
something
it's
to.
almost like um the yin energy, the water energy. It's about receiving it and not going into fight, flight, or fight response, where we then become too reactive,
Mm,
just to receive and to be still. You know, if a crab didn't move, you probably wouldn't even see it.
mm,
It's only the fact that it scuttles out the way that you knew it was there often. They're so well camouflaged. I mean, that's one thing about water element beings. They're very well camouflaged, usually. Um, and so they can hide, they can blend, they can merge with everything, or they know how to hide in some way. Whereas the fire is much more like, look at me, I'm on the top of the pyramid, I'm on the top of the mountain, look at me. That's more about being out and being visible. Awesome. Is there anything else that you think, oh, I didn't say that bit and I want to say this bit?
mm, mm. Nothing's coming to me straight away.
I think, it's the sort of thing that you can, as you say, you can just go deeper and deeper and deeper and take it further and further and further. And, we both would highly encourage people who feel inspired by it to take it further, wouldn't we? Or at least consider it in their work. It will just happen. If you're interested, you will pursue it. And otherwise, it just becomes a very interesting concept.
Mm. It's a universal language. We've been given these
Ah,
illustrations.
I have a question. I have a question. A lot of those a lot of those characters are quite man-made, like the taming of the bulls, the having pottery to pour the water, being able to create fire, being able to harvest, to sow and to harvest. They're all quite technological skills, which the very earliest people who would have already started to communicate through song and through story and through music and that, they wouldn't have had those skills. So did they have different stories for the constellations?
Mm.
You know, all of those things are very, the bow and arrow are very dependent on those things having been invented,
Mm.
which all sort of hung around the time when we transitioned from nomadic into agricultural based living. Because prior to that time, they wouldn't have had, well, they would have had bows and arrows, might have had some pottery. Anyway, I think that's just an interesting thing to, another thing just to sit there, and one day somebody will pop up and say the original meaning of the constellation of
Mm.
Sagittarius is da da da.
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
I do apply the technology to mastery of water as if, again, Aquarius being the most evolved out of all the zodiac, it's used technology to master the water finally. And you could see it in Capricorn as well. Capricorn.
What would you say is the other element then that is associated with water? Remember, we had the other
Mm.
element. So is it earth? Because we are, you know, it's, they're still physical beings, they've still got bodies.
Well, we're a mix of all the elements.
Yeah, I know. It's just that we had it, you know, that with the air signs, it was they had water in the third one. And with, you know, do you know, remember we were going through those. With the earth sign, it was water as well. And then with the fire sign, it was air. So what is it with the water sign? What is it with Pisces?
Uh,
What is the other element?
I think it's water
Water
because
and
of,
water.
yeah, and it's even through the scorpion. So it's the poison of the scorpion is the venom's water liquid, and it's not even the mastered side. Um it's as if that's the problem. There's too much water, and if it is the originator, the the first and last thing to overcome. Um, if let's say it was we overcame the poison of the water through the mastery and to immerse yourself and to accept.
Okay. Right. Well, thank you so much, Joel, for sharing this really insightful piece of work that you've been doing. I know you've been doing this for the last couple of years, and I don't know of any other astrologer who talks about the zodiac from this level. And so thank you. I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure, and hopefully it wasn't too Pisces Mercury for other people.
No, I think between us, we did very well. I mean, we do have Saturn on our Mercury at the moment, helping us. Um, one other thing, if people wanted to connect with you, where's the best way to connect with you?
Ah, the best way to connect.
Facebook,
Uh,
Instagram?
I have none of that.
You don't have any of that. Okay.
No, sadly. I think it's just have to be a phone number.
Okay. They can contact you through me. I will pass on your phone number.
Okay.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, Joel.
No, it was lovely.